What's up, guys? It's Brian here. This is going to be a different video. This is going to be going over a simple wiring diagram for a generator controller. This is the 5110 DSE electronic controller, and I had to replace it, and the original controller was off of, it's like the stock one that are on Wacker Nueson's, a G50. So let's go ahead and we're going to start basically down in this area. All right, so we've got basically all of your connectors are going to, so you have one connector that has 39 to 42, another one that's 35 to 38, 17, 18, 16. There will be more connectors or missing connectors, possibly. It all depends on the model and what, you can get a better model that will be the same, deep sea enclosure in a way. Like, it'll just be an upgraded one with more features. But anyways, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to like 8 is one connector. Then, so just, you get the picture, right? 10 to 14, 6 to 8. Anyways, 1 and 2, we've got battery negative on 1, battery positive on 2. And this is showing a grounded bus, basically. So number 1 is your negative. That's going to basically come from the negative on the battery cable. Minimum 2 amp, max 20 amp, anti-surge fuse. That is for this. This is the symbol for a fuse, that square thing. Anyways, you're going to go battery, negative with a wire going to number 1. Number 2 is going to be positive, battery, positive, going to a fuse, but you're going to have a splice, and you're going to splice and carry the hot, meaning the positive, to another fuse, and it's going to be hooked up to your e-stop, which, when the e-stop is not engaged, it will allow voltage through. When you push the e-stop, just imagine when you push the e-stop, this line right here that's right next to the 2 black dots will basically disconnect from touching the 2 black dots. So right now it's showing that voltage can go basically right where my mouse just went. It basically goes, boom, boom, through the fuse to the black dot. Now it's going through this line, then through the black dot again. Once this black line, though, is moved out and there's no touching the black dots, we know there's not voltage that's able to pass through from this point, this black dot, because there's nothing connecting it to the second black dot. Okay? Also, you're going to have the charging from your alternator, the big, not D+, but you're going to have the other connection which will charge the battery. That's already going to be done. So now we see number 3, which is the e-stop. We are going to have voltage going through the e-stop when everything is working normally. When the gen, and you try and start the gen, number 3 is actually going to feed voltage to 4 and 5, closing the fuel relay and the crank relay. Number 9, charging alt, that's the D+ wire. Oil pressure sender. You're literally getting a wire from the oil pressure sender and running it up to here. Water coolant temp, same thing. Get the wire from the water coolant temp and put it on 45. Then there's a sender common wire, which is going to be like a specific ground to the engine block. They don't want it hooked up to a ground bar with multiple grounds on there. It has to be an isolated ground. So, user configurable input is going to be digital. Mag pickup 17 and 18, and then you're gonna more than likely have the shielded ground 17, 18, and 16. The mag pickup is gonna have a shielded cable most of the time. You're gonna take the two regular wires and put them here, and then you'll have that ground that most of the time is not insulated. It's literally just like a plain ground wire. Usually it's aluminum too, it's not copper. And you're going to put that right here. Alright, now 35 to 38 is L1, L2, L3 in neutral. So you're going to tap off of the breaker. There's going to be, a lot of the times there will be spade spots to hook up to get sensing from each of the legs so that it can tell you what voltage it's at. 2 amp fuses on 1, 2, and 3 phases. The neutral does not need to have a fuse. And then 39, 40, 41, and 42. CT1, CT2, CT3, and then COM. It's your current, it's your amperage. It's going to be on the current transformers, the donuts. The black circular plastic things that are always on the load wires, like at the gen, right before the circuit breaker, you'll typically have them, or you'll have it in the doghouse right after, like, the alternator, depending on how big the doghouse is. And you're gonna have one COM that is tapped off of all 3 of the wires going to ground, and then you're going to have L1 or L2 and L3, one wire going off of each of those to 39 for L1, 40 for L2, 41 for L3. They must be a 5 amp secondary, so you're going to have a primary and then a secondary. It has to be 5 amp secondary. This is very simple. You definitely want to practice reading wiring diagrams, like, super important. Super important. It will literally... It's what separates... it's one of the many things that separates a good tech from a regular ass basic bitch tech. Just kidding. But, literally, if you want to be considered a decent tech, you better know how to read a wiring diagram. That's for sure. And it's not easy, and it gets confusing, but that's why you use the generator group that I have created, and you join it, and you make friends, and you just ask questions to the whole group, you know, or make a video like I am. Make a video of you trying to explain a wiring diagram and ask questions on where you are confused. Ultimately, the best experience obviously is actual experience. I really encourage new generator techs that are in the industry, that are their first year, second year, like, I really, it is what, it's one, it's one of the things that really helped me, move up and learn a lot very quickly. And that is seeking out the best and most experienced technicians at wherever you're working, and talk to them and get to know them, introduce yourself, and, ask them about their career and how they became so good and what their background is, and let them know, like, listen, I want you to teach me. I've been seeing that you are the most dependent on, tech. I really would love for you to show me and teach me some of, the things that you've learned over your, 30-year career so far. Like, please, like, is there any way? And, if you do that, if you go up, and obviously it's not the first day that you start at a job, because you won't know really who is the best until you do a little bit of, looking around, and you talk to the first person that you meet, the other techs, and you will then ask that tech kind of like, hey, who would you say the best person is at this company? And they will tell you. And, once you've put in maybe a month or so or whatever, and word's getting around that every person that you work with is saying that you are a super hard worker, and, they're happy when you are working with them. That's when you start reaching out to more people. Hopefully everyone would have said hi to you by now and introduced themselves. But I'm telling you, me going and finding the best techs and becoming friends with them, and I don't know if I was lucky to get to work with the best techs. Some people just don't, but you got to demand it, and you need to just prove yourself, and you need to be, because when you first start, they're going to be asking the techs that you work with, how did he do? You better be busting your ass. Those techs that are going to be telling the boss how you did, they better be saying nothing but absolutely amazing things. Like, you offered to help at all times, you were active, you busted your ass, you didn't take breaks, you didn't cry about shit, you got this shit done, and
you were really involved and you wanted to learn, and that's what they want to hear. And when that's being said about you multiple times, just like every time the boss is going to ask someone, even if like a month later, if the boss asks a tech that you worked with, how did he do, and he's still consistently, different senior techs are still consistently saying, oh my god, that he's awesome, he is awesome, and I want to work with him. That's how it starts to all fall into place, is when the senior techs want to work with you because you're going to be smart about it, and you're going to think to yourself, okay, what can I do to make them enjoy working with me and make their life easier so that they want me to work with them? Well, maybe at the end of the day, you are always cleaning up everything. And I'm talking their tools also. Like, you don't go putting their shit away in their van, but stacking it up and getting it all ready in a corner so that, they don't have to get on their hands and knees and pick all this shit up. I'm telling you. So, getting back to the main topic, searching for the top techs and being able to work with them will get you ahead of anyone else that has started when you have started. You will be ahead, and you will gain more experience than people that have been doing it for 2 years if you do what I just said right there. It's the best way to learn, is to be with someone that is experienced and has done it, and it's super freaking important. That's all I gotta say. So keep that in mind. I would also make sure that you are doing engine work with the best tech that's the best at engines, and you're trying to work with him doing the big alternator swap outs for back end replacements and radiator replacements at hospitals and stuff. As you get into the bigger businesses, the companies that do commercial and industrial jobs, you need that big experience. It really, I mean, obviously, if you've never done it before, then you don't, it's easy to make a mistake. And trust me, you can make a mistake very quickly in this career, from, electrocuting yourself. There's moving parts. If you're doing a 50-gallon oil change and you're not watching the oil barrel fill up and it overflows, that can happen really fucking easy. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I've never done that. I have. Not with a 50, but they were the 15-gallon jugs. And me and my partner, we somehow got distracted, and thankfully, right when we came around from the other side of the generator, it was not that bad, but there was a freaking puddle all on the floor. And so here we are like, fuck. Because this was a commercial place, and this, they're big accounts. The generator was probably like a 300, 400 kW. But for the first 4 years, I made sure to try and find the best tech. And I did whatever the fuck I had to do to make them, like, enjoy, like, they were, like, they wanted to work with me. Most of the time, they're definitely happy with you cleaning up the tools and all of the mess at the end of the day. If you're doing that, they're super happy to work with you. If you're done the job at the end of the day, you know, you're doing all the cleanup, and you tell them, go relax, like, go chill, man, I got this, like, I'll do it all, don't worry, man. I want to work with you. I want you to have an easy-ass day while you know, share your knowledge with me. And I promise you, I've had so many texts literally, like, question me, like, what the hell happened to you? You were literally like a brand new noob, like, a couple years ago, asking the dumbest questions, and now, you're working at, the industrial dealers and really nice companies, and it's because of the way I went about getting experience. See, the thing is, if you don't do that, how the hell are you really expecting to learn to do shit? Because you won't, unless you get sent to training, unless you're working with someone that can teach you, you're going to be stuck. And a good amount of my buddies that I worked with at, like, the first company I was at, were just kind of idling. And they didn't enjoy the work anymore, because you can only, for me at least, I've got to have a different, setup. I can't be doing the same exact thing every single day. But if you don't learn new stuff, then that's all that they're going to be having you do is the oil changes. Because how the hell, you don't know how to do anything else. Well, how are they going to, So make sure you are always learning. And if you stop learning, if you find out that you are basically you're not really gaining much experience anymore, it's time for you to go. Or you gotta say something to your manager about, hey, I want to learn this. Can you send me with this guy for a week just so I can learn it, so that I can start doing that stuff too? If they don't do it, then it's time to go. And what I mean by it's time to go is you start finding a job before you quit, obviously. And do not burn your bridges. That is one thing that I regret. With a couple of jobs. But sometimes you can't help it. And shit happens. Be involved in as much as you can. Volunteer. To work on the weekends. Because I mean, guys, it all is about, and if you watch my videos, you'll have heard me say this. You gotta play the game. You've got to play the game. You've gotta think, how do I make the boss like me so that I can get away with shit and he like starts to like look out for me. You gotta put in your time. You gotta volunteer on the weekends. You've gotta be the one that if he calls you, you stop what you're doing and you go take care of whatever he needs you to take care of. Now, I'm not saying to not have a life, but like I said, you've got to play the game. And at the beginning of your career, you've got to give to get. And if you're not willing to do that, no big deal. But the people that do that are going to be moving up very quickly. What else? Yeah, that's basically it. You know, you've got to volunteer in all things. Load banking. You've got to be wanting to load bank so that you've got the experience doing it. And I'm talking like you need to do probably probably like 500 load banks, maybe only like 250. It just depends. You definitely, obviously you're going to more than likely use the suitcase load banks for smaller jobs, and especially when you're not at an industrial, even though at industrial and commercial companies, they will have suitcases. You've got to learn how to, set up and get your amperages and your KW, you've got to be able to look at the size generator that you're going to be load banking and then calculate, okay, 25% would be this KW. So that's where you would then, when you're using the load bank, you look at the steps that the load bank has. Which could be a 5 kW step, and then as you get to the bigger load banks, towable load banks, you're going to have 50 kW steps, maybe even 100 kW, maybe even 200. But you ultimately need to have experience doing all of the load bank sizes, is what I'm trying to get at. Basically, a suitcase, a 100 kW suitcase. Then you want to have the 250 kW. But ultimately, you need to have experience working on the 1 meg load banks, the towable trailer ones. And you've got to get the experience of hooking up like 6 phases per leg. And you've got to invest in the right tools. Make sure you've got good meters. Get a fluke, get a good amp clamp, get a good resistive meter that can measure like 0.001 or 0.0001 ohms. Having the right tools is just as important as having the experience to do the job. If you have the experience and you don't have the tools, so then you can't do the job. And it's vice versa. If you got the tools but you don't have the experience, then you don't know how to do the job. Bottom line. Bottom fogging line, my friend. So you've got to invest big. Like I'm telling you, I was the only tech that was buying all of the shit that I was seeing the senior techs that I was working with, doing jobs with, like big repairs with. I was buying the tools that I saw him use to do the jobs. Whether it's a set of sockets up to 2 inches, deep sockets, then shallow wall sockets, wrenches. I have wrenches from the smallest size up to like 2 inches or some shit like that. Some crazy 1.5 inches, whatever. Finding out what puller you need, what drills and what they're using as a daily tool, like the Milwaukee right angle you're gonna have. I've got 3 of them now because I had one at my parents' house and I bought another one just because. But I've got a 1/4 inch and then the 3/8 one, I think, or whatever the hell it is. I'm not good with the whole sizing of remembering what specific size a certain thing would be. You've got to have a ratchet set with the sockets, your typical sockets. I highly recommend going Craftsman because of the lifetime warranty, which is real. If you break something, you have to bring it in to Lowe's and you show them. They'll basically be like, oh, go find the part, go find what you want it to, what you need to replace with, and bring it up here and make sure that the item numbers are the same. And boom, you get the non-broken tool now. So definitely, the one thing I tell you to not do not go and get
Snap-on, Mac, Blue Point, do not do that at all. Do not waste your fucking money. Do not spend $300 on a ratchet when you could buy a whole set of lifetime warranted Craftsman ratchets or a socket set and ratchet set for that price. Do not do that. Do not go into debt hopping on the stupid Snap-on truck. Don't buy a single thing. Anything that you buy should be from Amazon that has a ton of reviews that can be off brand, like Sunex. Gear Wrench is very good. Do not go waste your money on overpriced tools. A tool is a tool. It's made out of metal. You know, that's it. You're not impressing anyone with your Snap-on. Anyhow, I hope you have a good day.